Okay, today's lecture is on Google search. And since I'm a little bit sick and my voice might give out and I got other stuff after this, we'll probably go through till about 1 o'clock or so and then call it a day. Possibly a little sooner, depending on how I'm feeling. Anyway, what time we got time? Yeah, we're good. Okay, but we'll knock out most of this anyway. And search. What we'll cover. Number 1, how search works. Number 2, why it's needed, how it's evolved over time. Basic search principles and techniques, right? In the context of Google, basically how does Google help you find what you're looking for? And then we'll look at a couple advanced features. These weren't there in the early incarnation of Google, but they've been around for long enough that you guys are pretty used to them, I imagine. But we'll talk about how those work. Okay. So search is one of those things that everybody uses, but doesn't usually think about very much, okay? You go to Google, you want to find something, what do you try to do? You try to describe what you want. Hopefully, the machines do, in fact, deliver what you want. Whatever you're looking for, right, whatever topic it may be, like shoes, I don't know, dry cleaning, whatever, in downtown Chicago, yeah, hopefully you can find that. Now, one of the problems with search, as we'll see, is that websites aren't heavily structured. They're pretty much formless. You can set them up however you want. Highly structured data is easy to search. Okay? Less structured data makes it a big problem. That's why Google makes so much money, because the problem they have solved is not an easy one. So, for example, if you have data that's only sorted on one dimension, right? Imagine like you have a database table full of invoices. The key field is the invoice number. Somebody calls in and says, hey, I want to check my invoice for such and such, and you ask them, okay, do you have the invoice number? They do. It's very quick and easy to locate it, right? You just scroll down the list to find where the invoice is. Boom, you find it. Very easy to find stuff. Even if it's sorted on multiple dimensions, like a name from a phone book, right? It's very easy to find stuff. You say, oh, I have the last name, I have the first name, boom, right? I go first to the last name, then within that possibly long list, like if it's a common name like Smith or something, there's like a billion Smiths, but eventually with the correct correct first name, yeah, I can probably find it. Even stuff that's categorized and sorted. For example, if you go to Amazon, you try to download songs, they have a bunch of different categories. And the first thing you can see there is, popular stuff or different styles of music, whatever you want to grab. Yeah, you get the categories, and then those are ranked somehow on Amazon. That's a little bit tougher than this, but still manageable. But where things get crazy is web pages. So, we'll talk about that. What is a web page? Well, as you should all know by now, a web page is a bunch of data mixed together in fairly arbitrary ways. There could be text, there could be what are called objects, things on the page that either do stuff or are special things that aren't text, right? Images, buttons, scripts. Scripts are basically little mini programs that run on the page. And formatting instructions. Actually, scripts could be full-blown programs as well, but usually they're pretty short. The text can be around in a whole bunch of different styles. Objects, right? Objects could be actually inherently included in the page, or they could be automatically constructed by the browser. For example, you go to Amazon on their default home page, right? There's going to be certain things that are just there, like whatever promotions they're doing that day, yeah, they're just going to appear there on the page. But other stuff, Amazon is going to construct the page before they send it. For example, if there's any information that's specific to your account, like based on your purchase history at Amazon, they know that there are things you like, they can include those in the home page when you get there. Okay? Or other stuff pulled from databases. Like if you do a Google search, right? You do the search, Google gives you the results, but it's probably also going to give you a bunch of ads along with the search results. And again, it has to pull them from its own side. So, on top of that, there can be all kinds of metadata around the objects, right? What their labels are, what their display priority is, how big they should be, things like that. So, web pages are pretty complicated, whole bunch of different styles of data that can be presented and constructed in different ways. So, because of that, it means pages can't be meaningfully ordered. You can't come up with a sensible system where you could say page A is greater than, less than, or equal to page B, right? It kind of doesn't make sense. You'd have to come up with some weird, complicated scheme to base it on. And how would you even do that? Very difficult. All right. So, we'll back up for a second, start from the basics. Markup languages. Now, there's a whole bunch of different markup languages in the world, but the one that's relevant to us here is something called HTML. The idea of HTML, fundamentally, once upon a time, all web pages were basically text, right? It was pre-World Wide Web. So think like 1990 and earlier. You went to a web page, all you did was see, a bunch of text. So if there's something like the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog, right? This is a sentence that has some significance for typing, right? If any of you are old school typists, you'll know why. Has every letter in the alphabet. So it's a quick sentence that allows you to actually, verify that you're hitting every key correctly. Okay, so anyway, people do that. Now, if you just have text, like old-timey 1990, let's say circa 1990, when you load the page, you just get plain text that is displayed in the default mode for your browser, right? Whatever your browser is set to, whatever font it uses, you just get it in that same standard style. However, by 1995, you can have tags that specify styles for some or all text. For example, right, just as an idea, suppose I wanted to have the word box in boldface. I could do something like this. I could do a B inside a tag. So the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. Okay? And here this B to open the tag and /B to close out the tag, that says whatever follows here is going to be displayed in boldface. And you can apply that to all sorts of other things in HTML. For example, if you want to have an image of a fox afterwards, you could have a tag for image, and then whatever the path to the image is, right, would just say path goes here, right? Something like, something like ref equals / images fox1.jpg, something like that, and then close out the image. You could do tags like that, right, with whatever syntax your particular markup language has. So fundamentally, the idea of a markup language, you still have as the basis of your page plain text, but the markup language, just like an editor could mark up a document, you can mark up your own document to show that certain text has certain styles or that certain other objects appear on the page interspersed between the text. Okay? That's the idea of markup languages. And HTML, which is our relevant one, HTML, hypertext markup language, that's the basic one that you use in writing web pages. Okay, there's a bunch of other ones out there, but HTML is the only one we need to worry about. Anyway, so hypothetically, suppose you have some online news article. Well, you're going to have tags that specify some text as the main header, other text as some headers, subheaders. And the article body, if it's not enclosed in tags, will use whatever the default style is. So if your browser is set for default style, default font, Times New Roman 10 point, that's what you're going to see. Okay? And again, individual words or phrases can be italicized or put in boldface with tags around them. So here we have an example. So I'm going to lift this. I'm going to go to, we're going to find online HTML editor. There's a bunch of free ones out there. Most of the time, one is as good as the next. If you see this weird set of letters there, WYSIWYG, WYSIWYG. Anybody know what that stands for? What you see is what you get. So basically, it's going to display stuff the same way as you put it in. There's not any weird formatting on top of it. Okay, WYSIWYG, that's what that means. It's generally considered a good thing. I heard it once in an episode of one of those primetime cop shows. They had some trouble with hackers, and they said, oh, so blah, 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 WYSIWYG. And I was like, oh, shit, I bet nobody knows what that means. Anyway, okay. So over here on the right, this is our source code, right? Our source of our document. And you can see there's a lot of text here, but there's also a lot of tags around. All these little blue things, those are tags. The purple is generally the styles of the tags. So, for example, that's how they keep this. If you look way up at the top here, it says, you can edit this demo text. Let's find that. Here's the raw text in black. You can edit, and then this demo text, right? And then there are styles all around all the other stuff to show it in different ways. Okay, but if I just want to put in my article the way I have it, let's see, did I copy it? No, I didn't copy it. Okay, this is what I'm going to get. Okay, so here, H1, that's a big header. H2 is a smaller header, but still big. P is a new paragraph. B and /B, that makes the word donuts appear in boldface. If you look over here, it says donuts. Okay, another paragraph down below. Over here, fresh delicious donuts appears in italics, so /I, so fresh delicious donuts in italics. And down at the bottom, alongside every cup, what have I done there? McDonald's.com/donuts. Let's do the href for that. I meant to put that in. href equals www.mcdonalds.com. Okay. And if you put in the href, whatever text you have appears in here in that inside that A tag. That's weird. The href is the link that it actually goes to. So if I hover over this link, I can see that it should be a little pop-up here. Maybe not, because this site is a little different. Anyway, if I click on this, it doesn't want to take me there. All right, so maybe this has links disabled. That's okay. HTTP. Let's see what we can do there. No, still doesn't want to send me there. Okay, but anyway, that's how links work. So that's fine. Okay, so that's markup language, and this is an example of doing it in HTML. And you'll get to play with this in the lab eventually. All right. Excuse me. Okay, so how does online search work? So let's talk about Google. First of all, text matching is the core technique, because if people are searching for particular terms or items, they're going to use words to do that. And so Google's going to try to match, in some sense, the words you enter in the search bar to the things that are actually on the pages. So certain terms have more importance than others, though. Page titles are very important. Headers are pretty important. Plain text, probably the least important of the three, but still, a good match. For example, if I am looking for, I don't know, tennis shoes, and I find a web page whose title says tennis shoes, well, I can reasonably infer the page is about tennis shoes. And so that's, a good match. If I'm looking for tennis shoes for sale, and I find the page is titled tennis shoes, and in the headers, it says something like items for sale, men's, women's, kids, whatever. Yeah, that might be a pretty good match too. Okay? Other stuff, sometimes they'll even use image or other object metadata. For example, if I am looking for shoes to buy, chances are on a retail site, there are going to be pictures of the shoes that I might buy. There are going to be other objects too, things like shopping carts. They say, oh, this is an actual retail site. It has the shopping cart feature, for example. And Google can use that kind of information too. But when it's matching with text, it's going to dig around in those objects and see, oh, this image is an image that its label describes it as picture of tennis shoes, model number, blah, 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 blah. And I can search for that. Now, there's a certain amount of imperfection built in that it'll tolerate. Back in the 90s, Google really didn't. None of the search engines did. You kind of had to do an exact match, which could cause problems. So, these days, though, you can look for synonyms. For example, bugs or insects. We know, right, that not all bugs is kind of a catch-all for creepy crawlies and includes things like centipedes and spiders and stuff, most people would say. But insects is a very specific, precise group of things that does not include those. But we would still consider those rough synonyms for most people and how they're used. So if somebody's looking for bugs, you might get results about insects. If somebody's looking for results about insects, you might get stuff about bugs. But we can also do by association, right? We also know that a computer bug or a software bug is a specific thing, right? Not referring to a little creature, but referring to some way that the program has gone off the rails, right? That's what we mean by a bug there. And Google's smart enough to recognize those two things are synonyms as well and qualitatively different from insects. We'll talk about all that in more detail eventually. Last, imperfection, misspellings. For example, if somebody types in BGUS, could be bogus, right? Just slipped over the E. Or it could be I transpose letters in bugs. How do we know? Well, we really don't. In fact, these days, when I first started doing it, it usually turned up bugs. But nowadays, if I do BGUS, it turns up Bowling Green State University, I think in Kentucky or something. So if I do that, BGUS, yeah, Bowling Green, oh, it's in Ohio. But there you go. You never know what you're going to get. Okay. But when I first started doing this, BGUS generally returned bugs. Anyway, likewise, if I do software BGUS, then I'm going to get software bugs. So, because it's not going to make sense the other way. So if I redo and I say software BGUS, showing results for software bugs instead, right? Google says, you know what? Based on what we know about how people search and typos and stuff, we think this is what you mean. And if I click on a link, then Google will say, oh, I see. That pretty much is what, you must have been looking for because you clicked on one of the results for this. Okay. Now, ideally, user search terms would correspond uniquely to the desired page, right? You could type in some set of search terms that only is present on one page. But real world 2019, that's not going to happen. That might have worked in 1995 when there weren't many pages. Might have worked sometime. But now there's basically no way. For example, even if I go and think of some of the screwiest words I can think of, give me an odd word. What's an odd word? I'll lead. Ziziva. That is actually a word. It's either a bug or a plant, or both. What else? Oddball words. Asobuco. Actually, playable is one word in Scrabble. What else? Other weird words. Kukirbit. Yeah, that's a real thing. All right. And I don't know, saxophone. It's not that weird, but let's see what happens. Even for this ridiculous group of words that seem to have no correlation, I still find 4 matching results. Okay. Yeah, you can think of yeah, there you go. I don't know why, but one of the things you'll look up is they don't all contain them all. So here, missing, this one only contains Asobuco, this one only contains it, this one actually contains them all. But this is about, learning words and stuff. But anyway, for any group of words you come up, there's going to be multiple results that get captured.